So before we move on, I want to show something really cool. That is my life-size replica of Engulfing Lightning. It's around like 5 feet tall or whatever. I mean, yeah, it's not perfectly life-size, but yeah, it's pretty big and pretty cool, isn't it? So we are gonna get to the next part of this, where we look at the story of her weapon. The weapons have lore. All their signature weapons have lore, Naomi. So weapons, the description is simple. It shows its stats and its abilities and all that. But underneath that, you get like a little like character, a little story for it, and a little description for it. So its basic description is it's a naginata used to cut grass. Any army that stands before this weapon will probably be likewise cut down. Now then, if you click on the description, you get a longer story of this weapon. Whoa, that's a long description. We're reading it. The naginata was a lethal weapon by which scattered dross might be cut away. And the one who wielded that naginata was one who guarded the path to eternity. When the one who stood high above the storm clouds looked upon the mortal world, which she so loved, seeing their shallow disputes and transient obsessions, such contention stemmed from needless attachments and unchecked desires, both enemies of eternity. The wild weeds that disturb the unchanging world would be swept away by the lightning. Well then, what sort of eternity would Blank's eyes reflect? She asked the clergy person, who slashed and drank wine with her under the sakura tree in a still clear memory. What a pointless question, though. The answer she gave them was lost to the alcohol. She had gained the answer countless times in those memories. One must thin fruits to improve their quality. Plants used in dyes must have their flowers pruned. Not a single speck of dross could be permitted in an eternal paradise. But even so, using that great blade of light to uproot all obsession and to eliminate the possibility for dreams take root and wither by themselves, a tranquil world that brooks no dispute, no gain, or no loss. It shall be an amnesiac world, lost to itself. In the heart of eternity, these old friends still appear so clear, and the scent of the sakura remains so fresh. But I will never forget you, just as I will never forget the things that were lost across the years. After all, having witnessed the pitch-black annihilation consume those precious to her, how could she not see the absurd nature of life and death? Yes, incomprehensible destiny itself as her mortal foe. But since no one can overturn the impermanence of the world and the barren nature of this game, then let the eternal Eusimia within her heart carry forth into the nation she loves. Well, that's confusing. And that was the description for Engulfing Lightning. Why are we at the statue of Istarat or whatever? Why? That's where her story starts, at least in the Archon quest. So starting off in the game, Raiden Shogun tries to kill the Traveler. And she does this by noticing they can wield the power of vision bearers, and she sees that as a threat to eternity. And the Traveler gets into fight with her just by trying to protect the vision of one of their friends. And well, yeah. So for Holde, the Inazuma Archon quest. The travelers go to different islands in Inazuma and train and all that, and well, yeah. They have to train a lot, and they have to, like, tame, like, at least 1 or 2 storms on, like, different islands, too, or something. And go to some horrible place called Enkanomiya. Don't get me started on Enkanomiya. Our doll mommy's so annoyed with that place. Because she had to originally rush for the story quest just to get there, but... To send Yai. Because Yai's boss materials are there, but yeah. This is about Raiden, not Enkanomiya. So while there is one Raiden Shogun in the game,
the world remains constant over the centuries, but human life
the traveler finds out through traveling to the planet Euthymia inside her that is like a pocket dimension, like in her mind. That's like inside her sword, pretty much. That like Raiden A is the one controlling this puppet. And Raiden A has been meditating for 500 years. And she's afraid of change. She's not familiar with things going on outside of the planet Euthymia, which are pretty terrible, because there's like war going on. There's a whole vision hunt degree. Which is basically her taking away people's visions to put them on a statue. And then there's her closing off Inazuma's borders so that no one can enter. Yeah, there's all that. And the traveler also has to sneak into mainland Inazuma. So, yeah, this place is very well guarded. It's not the easiest to get into, and the traveler has to actually sneak into Inazuma. But yeah, so after the second time fighting Raiden in Euthymia, basically Yaimiko shows up. And this is after a duel before Raiden's throne, by the way, with the Traveler versus versus La Sinora, who's one of the Fatui who Raiden kills or something. Yeah, she literally kills a Fatui right in front of the Traveler, but... So when the Traveler's fighting Raiden, Yaimiko shows up in the planet Euthymia to give the Traveler a pep talk, and try to use them, and lets them use the wishes of the people, resonate with that, to really sway Raiden A's heart, and to make her reconsider what the Raiden Shogun puppet is doing.
I stand before it, alone and unchanged.
Yeah, so she kind of has change of heart a little bit. She learns to care more about the people of Inazuma and protect them, and yeah. And you do see her grow as a person through this. And she learns to accept that change happens. Now, Raiden and change. This goes into her story quest now. And if you want to know which Raiden we're referring to, it's think of me I'm Raiden Makoto for this video, and my sister is Raiden A. And Veronica Triple might as well represent the Raiden Shogun puppet. But... the, like, story quest for her does dive into more backstory regarding her. Which was also revealed during the battle with her in the planet Euthymia. Yeah. She reveals, like, how her twin sister died, and how she had trouble processing it and grieving the loss and the trauma from the Cataclysm and the Archon War and stuff, and yeah. So basically, her and her sister were around during the Archon War, but one of them could claim the Electronosis, which Makoto claimed it. So then Makoto ruled Inazuma with A ruling as her shadow alongside her. But the people of Inazuma only ever knew that there was one Raiden Shogun at a time. So they didn't know they were twins. They didn't know there was two of them. They didn't know that they like ruled together, except for a few of their yokai friends. And then all those yokai friends were pretty much lost in a war during the Cataclysm. Yeah. One of them even went crazy, so Raiden had to, like, use her special sword technique to try to kill her. Yeah, basically, one of her friends went crazy whenever she was due to, like, the Abyss in Genshin Impact. So, and its influence. So, of course, A had to use her blade to try to take her friend down, but she ended up slicing one of her horns off. Yeah. And probably one of the worst things about the Cataclysm for A was that she even lost Makoto. Yeah, Makoto dies while fighting against Conria during the Cataclysm. And so it falls on Raiden A to take on the full duty of being the Electro Archon. Without her sister's leadership, and without her sister's more positive view of eternity. So A, with her more negative, like, view on eternity, where she's, like, really stuck in the past and doesn't want anything to ever change, she uses Conrian technology to make a puppet of herself to rule Inazuma in her place. And yeah, and since we already read about her efforts her failed efforts to create a puppet called the Gnosis, one of these failed efforts was Scaramouche, which will be represented by Ash in this video. Because Scaramouche is male. So basically, with Scaramouche, she created him to hold the Electronosis. But then she determined that he was a failure because he was too emotional. So she, like, discarded him and kind of just abandoned him to where he grew very resentful of her and grew to hate her and joined the Fatui. Okay, we will show Scaramouche again, but that is Scaramouche. That is the puppet that Raiden discarded that she originally made to hold her Gnosis. But yeah, of course, he later on ended up getting an animo vision and making the whole like world lose all memory of him. But that didn't stop him from writing an article like an essay at the Sumer Academia criticizing Ryan A's politics. So yeah, he intensely dislikes her. And a lot of the fandom jokes that he's like her son.
Relax.
But yeah, let's get back to Raiden's story. And there is my blessing, the Welkin Moon.
Try some creative cooking.
So after A's story quest, A and the Traveler walk the streets of Inazuma together. And A is like really nervous about this because she's not as familiar with the culture and the people. It's not exactly like it was like 500 years ago, and she's still getting used to the changing times. Like, so her and the Traveler just walking the streets of Inazuma together when they stumble across this like stall run by a street vendor. So this is the stall. If you have played her story quest, you know the significance of this. You know the significance of the Dango milk. So they go to a stall, talk to a street vendor who offers her to try his new recipe, which is this experimental recipe called Dango milk. And well, yeah. This is the only location in the game this food item could be purchased. But this is what a lot of people consider to be Raiden A's signature food in the game, despite her not having a signature food in the game. So Dango milk is a creative snack made by adding sticky dango to milk. It is sweet and has a dense mouthful. All the customers who tried it love it. Still, it is dango that's been added in. Drink too much and you might lose your appetite. But yeah, that's what dango milk is. And why is the dango milk so important to Raiden A's character development? Why is this simple food item important? And why is it, on like a lot of things, she's often portrayed with like one of two foods: tricolor dango or dango milk. Yeah, we're gonna... And we mentioned that she cannot cook, of course. Now it's the other recipe. Yeah, tricolor dango. This is actually, we think, Yoimiya's signature dish, but it is often associated with Raiden Shogun, probably because of the dango and the fact that she canonically loves sweets and desserts. But can she cook? This is something that... So, to check if character can cook in this game... If you play Genshin, you probably already know this little fun fact about Raiden, but she cannot cook because she never programmed the Raiden Shogun puppet to be able to cook. Basically, all this puppet was programmed to do was just to maintain eternity at all costs. And during her story quest, she starts to have some internal conflict with her own puppets. This is because The puppet was created to maintain eternity. And, well, since her will had changed a little bit, ever since being influenced by the ideas of the Traveler and Yaimiko, and becoming more open to living in the moment a little bit more like Makoto did, rather than just living in the past and wanting things to stay the same forever. And being able to accept that, yes, change happens, change can occur. This caused an internal conflict that made the puppet attack her, pretty much. And made her to have to fight her own puppet in the Planning Simia. Yeah, so after fighting her own puppet and winning, she gets to talk to Raiden Magoto's spirit. And, well, this is a very big moment because it reveals that Makoto's spirit was, inside the, sacred Sakura, pretty much. And through some, whole, time travel shenanigans on Istaroth's part, she was able to talk to Raiden A and give her the advice she needed in that moment, which is very much her helping her sister learn to live life in the moment and enjoy the little things in life. And the first sign of Raiden A enjoying at least one of the little things in life is the Dango milk scene. It's something different. It's something unique. It is an experimental food or drink item, however you would classify it. But it's something different. It's not, traditional, and she liked it. Which, this signifies a big change in her character's heart. So the moral of her story quest and her Archon quest is to learn to accept and embrace change, pretty much. And I want to touch on her reason for staying in Planning Simia for so long, and why it represents such a toxic coping mechanism. While meditation is traditionally seen as a good thing, for Raiden A in Planning Simia, while her meditating is good, it isn't moving on and learning to accept change is healthier for her specifically. And she spent so much time in Planning Simia to avoid having to deal with what she deems to be negative changes in the outside world. And yeah, basically you cannot just hide away from your problems. You can't just hide away from every tragedy that happens to you. But what drove her to stay in a whole separate pocket dimension, away from society, away from other people, for so long? And this is something that we want to really talk about and stuff. So we all know Raiden A is afraid of change. Raiden A really doesn't like it, and she is someone who has suffered through a lot of tragedy in her life. Yeah, we mentioned everything she lost during the Cataclysm, and how much it really affected her. How, she lost so many, people and yokai who were close to her in that, and it kind of broke her. So, and caused her to experience trauma from it. And then she had to recover from that trauma in the planning time yet. But what is trauma, and how exactly does it affect a person? Trauma is when something really unfortunate happens in someone's life, whether this be losing a loved one, or like anything of like a very distressing nature, to where it negatively affects someone's mental health and their ability to cope and their ability to just live their life normally. And Raiden Makoto's death was very much a traumatic event for her. So much that she, like, literally made a puppet version of herself to rule Inazuma in her place because she was going through so much with it. And it took a whole like character story where she got to like reunite and talk with her sister for even a brief time for her to at least recover a little bit. Trauma can break someone in ways that you do not want to know. It is a dark human emotion that is intensely scary to deal with. And has our doll mommy dealt with trauma before? Yes. Oftentimes from childhood bullying even. And it's like, when you're a kid on the autism spectrum, you're just trying to make friends, yet people keep on bullying you and being mean to you and just not being very nice to you. It's very frustrating. It makes you angry and it makes you just kind of lose hope a little bit in other people. And it affects your ability to trust people. And then there's always loss. Losing someone you love can affect anyone in a really bad way. And it's just... the painful part with any traumatic experience is accepting that it happened and moved on, rather than just staying in the past and wishing that it never happened or would never happen. Moving on from that trauma, from that pain, is often one of the best things you can do with it. And not ruminating on the negative too much, or things that are way in the past. That is very, very well spoken, V. It is. And mysterious audience, I know, trauma is yet another dark topic. A topic that we don't normally touch on at all, but in the case of Raiden's story quest, it is a relevant topic. Because, yeah, she loses her literal twin in a literal war, and it's just like a twin who she has always ruled Inazuma alongside, a twin who has always been there for her and always been by her side for so long. And it's like, our doll mommy imagines that how Raiden A must have felt in that moment would be how I would feel if Naomi were to go to war and die. Yes, our doll mommy has compared me to Raiden A and Naomi to Raiden Makoto before. With the whole twin symbolism and the personalities and all that. And it's like, but like, Raiden A is also... And the planet Euthymia. It's really both good and bad as a coping mechanism. It's okay to get into your head and really think about things sometimes. It's okay to have to deal with the darkness and the tragedy of things and just confront it and like meditate a little and realize like exactly what's going on and clarify it. But it's not healthy to ruminate it on it for too long, and sometimes we have to escape that headspace and accept reality. No matter how dark and bleak and depressing or like just boring it is. Like, we all need to learn to face our own realities, and this can be painful sometimes. Whether you've had a significant loss or you've had bad experiences, even as a kid just growing up, and yeah. It doesn't... Everyone, I feel like, has experienced some kind of trauma in their life. Something that their mind will just focus on, no matter how negative and terrible it is, for their mental health and for their well-being. So Raiden A, learning to enjoy living in the moment and embracing, like, wanting to help the people of Inazuma more is a good thing, because it helps her move past the events of the past and move Inazuma into the future. But it also helps her own well-being, and it helps her improve her own worldview of things. And that is something that is really important. I'm sorry, I know this is long. This whole like character analysis is really, really long, but I really wanted to do Raiden A and her story justice. I wanted to express everything that is special about her as a character, that makes her as intensely amazing and relatable as she is. And our doll mommy is on the autism spectrum. So there are times when even our doll mommy just hates change a lot. Like, she doesn't like to accept, like, negative outcomes for things. She doesn't like it when, like, things just change and it's out of her control and she can't do anything about it. That is traumatic for her. That is depressing for her, and yeah. And I'm sure if you know any autistic people in your life, you know about how receptive they are to change. Many of them intensely dislike it, while some can tolerate it more. But who wouldn't wish they could freeze time so that bad things wouldn't happen to you or your loved ones? We know this is a serious question, mysterious audience. We know, but we want to ask it anyway. Embracing change in the world is important. Facing reality is something that must be done, no matter how deep you are into whatever form of escapism that you're in.
Explorers make the same mistakes over
And
and
that's
over.
something that a lot of people, I feel like, need to understand. You can't just ignore it. But you gotta live in the moment. Enjoy those happy little moments in your life whenever you can. Because if you don't enjoy them, or if you're always like, if you don't take the time to enjoy
All
them,
the world
you'll
in which
probably
we
miss
live
out.
is a backdrop of constant motion. I stand before it, alone and unchanging.
Well, this was heavy, wasn't it? I wanted to make this video anyways, because I love Raiden. She means a lot to me. She means a lot to our doll mommy as well. And we really want to show how special and intensely relatable she is to us. So goodbye, mysterious audience. I love you. Naomi loves you. And that was our video on how intensely relatable Raiden A or Raiden Shogun, however you think of her from Genshin Impact is.